And now on the line is Claire McGowran. Claire is the campaigns manager with the Wheel. Claire, welcome back to Near FM.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, Claire, we are recording this interview on Friday the 21st, and it will be broadcast on Tony's programme on Sunday. The main reason I got in touch with you for this interview, Claire, is because yesterday, Thursday the 20th of March, was International Day of Happiness 2025, and I know that you mark this day in the Wheel every year. Before we talk about the day yesterday, Claire, as it has been so long since my last interview with anyone from the Wheel, could you start off by reminding our listeners first, please, as to who the Wheel are?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Wheel is a national representative body for the charity and community sector in Ireland. So that means any social enterprise, any charity, any community group, big or small, can join the Wheel, and we offer lots of different kinds of training and representation for the sector. So we advocate on behalf of the sector for things like funding and policy change and things like that, and then we have lots of amazing training on offer as well.
Yeah, I know. It's a very interesting organisation. I did a couple of interviews with Ivan Cooper, your CEO or director on Near FM. That was a long time ago, though. We're talking about the SDGs. I was looking at the Wheel website yesterday, Claire, and your profile on it, and I see that you have an interesting background working in journalism. Can you tell our listeners a bit about your background, Claire, and if you feel that your background helps you with the kind of work you do today with the Wheel?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I studied journalism in DCU near yourselves, and I then went and worked in different magazines and newspapers. I spent some time in Cambodia, so I freelanced there for the Phnom Penh Post, and then I worked in digital media. So I did a lot of work on various websites, and I was editor of One Fab Day, which is a very popular wedding website. But at the essence of all of that is storytelling. So it's sitting down with someone and asking them for their story, and that's exactly what my day job is now. So I work on a campaign called WeAct, which is all about putting a face to the work of the charity and community sector in Ireland through telling stories. So we have a lot of stories through our social media. We have a newsletter that's particularly pertinent to International Day of Happiness. It's called the Good News Gazette, and it's good news that goes out once a month about all the brilliant people doing brilliant things around the country. And we also have storytelling events. So just last week for St. Patrick's Festival, we had a storytelling event in town in the Tower buildings, and it was just lots of different people from different communities came to share their story about their community and what community means to them. And the role that charities and community groups have played in their lives. So yeah, it's just lots of different formats and ways of telling stories, but very similar to the work you do. Once every single person has a story to tell, and it's just about encouraging them to share it and giving them a platform for it.
And can we subscribe to that newsletter, can we?
Yeah, so if you visit WeAct.ie, you can subscribe there, and it comes out once a month, and we won't spam you otherwise. You'll just get that one email once a month.
Okay, we'll talk a bit about that again in a minute. Okay, yesterday, Thursday the 20th, was International Day of Happiness. Can you tell the listeners, Claire, why and how you mark this day every year in the Wheel?
Yeah, we just wanted the public to really understand the role that charities and community groups play in our happiness as a society. So you may be aware of the statistic that Ireland is the loneliest country in Europe. We have a real epidemic of loneliness in this country, and the charity and community sector play a vital role in combating that loneliness. So if you think of things like men's sheds, community gardens, youth clubs, that are all in all of the area that of everyone here that's listening, there are sports clubs, there's hobby groups, whether it's a knitting club or the tidy towns. There are so many ways that we can reach out and find community, and that will really help to combat loneliness and bring happiness to our communities. We have a statistic that only 15% of people realise that or feel that they benefit from charities and community groups. But every single one of us do. You know, if you go to the zoo is a charity. If you go to the Abbey Theatre or the Gate or the Access Theatre in Ballymun, they're all charities. Sean O'Casey in East Wall, you know, like there's so many ways that we're all impacted. If you've adopted a dog from Dogs Trust or the DSPCA, you've benefited from charity. If you've walked down the road and admired you know, a nice hanging basket, or the fact that there's no litter because of a Pride of Place group, that's you benefiting from charity. So a big part of us marking this day is to help people realize that we all benefit from charities. They belong to all of us, so we all should play a role in engaging with them and being as involved with them as we can.
And like, are you interested in the way in kind of like I know you can apply for a job to work in a charity across Ireland, but like more often, I could be wrong, but more often there are opportunities also for volunteering work. Are you interested in that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So on WeAct, we partner with Volunteer Ireland. So they have a platform called iVol, where anyone can sign up and see volunteering opportunities. And the beauty of that is that it doesn't matter your age, your ability, your availability. Like if you can't leave your house, you know, you can volunteer helping someone with social media or with bookkeeping. If you want to get out and meet people, you know, there's loads of really social volunteer roles. If you've only got an hour a week, you can drive someone to their appointments. You know, there's so many different opportunities regardless of how much time you have to give or how you're able to give your time. And so we really want to help people realize that and see that there is a volunteer role out there for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, volunteering is great. I'm a volunteer, as you know, at Near FM and also Radio and Liffa for a good few years. And
Yeah.
when the last 2 years, I'm a volunteer with the Dublin People Media Group, the Northside People and Southside People newspapers.
Mm.
I, I find it amazing the I have an interest as like in community media, but even like over the last decade or more, the evolution of volunteering in community media. Like I live in Hansfield in Dublin 15, but I used to
Mm.
have to travel to Near FM every time I wanted to record an interview. Whereas nowadays, more recent years, I have a recording device and I can work from home and I email my files to Near FM and Radio and Liffey, you know. Like
Mm.
I still do stuff outside occasionally. I go to events occasionally and do outside stuff, you know. But it's fantastic. I think like with technology, in community media, the way I can do that, it saves me so much time. You know what I mean? Energy. You
Yeah,
know.
and it gives you a lot more flexibility to be able to volunteer more or in different ways. Now, obviously, like the act of gathering and coming together is really important, and that's an important benefit about volunteering, is that people can come together in person. But that doesn't suit everybody, and it's not always accessible to everybody. So it's just about finding different ways or finding what suits you, and what will help you to kind of maximize your impact, I guess. And that's the thing when you say people don't realize the impact of charities. So everyone listening to this right now is being impacted by a charity. And that's the difference, is that, you know, we're all reaping the benefits of other people's volunteer work, which is why we all have a role to play. And board membership is another really great way to volunteer, and it's you know, so every charity is governed by a board of volunteer directors, and you know, you might meet, depending on the organization, you might meet 6 to 10 times a year. You help guide the strategy and steer the charity in the right direction, but it's not a huge amount of time commitment, and it's incredibly rewarding, and you learn a lot of skills from it, as you do with lots of volunteer roles. So that's another kind of route into it for people who think, you know, who only see volunteering as, you know, whether it's, you know, a sports team coach or, you know, stewarding events or things like that. Do you know what I mean? There's just so much variety in volunteer roles.
Yeah, other volunteer work I used to do over the years. For a good few years, I did church guide collections, you know, Gorta and Self Help
Mm.
Africa. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like from a financial point of view. If you want to help a charity, I think that's a fantastic way because there's not actually much work involved. You just do it. Well, I used to do church gates, so we did it before and after mass for
Mhm.
10 minutes either before and after. So there wasn't a huge amount of work involved, but the amount of money that you collect in that short space of time, it really like after we used to do the churches on the weekend, like frequently we'd raise over €1,000 over the
It's
space
incredible.
over the space of the 3 or 4 masses. It's fantastic, and
Mm,
you get and
yeah.
like a lot of organisations, I believe, would love more help in that regard. Like I don't just mean church gates, but like say in town or in Dublin City or whatever, on the
Yeah, like
streets. Yeah.
Daffodil Day. It's
Mm.
Daffodil Day next week, and that's a huge one where thousands of volunteers are mobilised around the country to collect for the Irish Cancer Society. And a lot of charities really rely on that kind of face-to-face fundraising, particularly if they have big days once a year. So I know Esophageal Cancer Fund have their Lollipop Day, and there's the 65 Roses for Cystic Fibrosis, and there's a lot. Temple Street have one. There's a lot of organisations that really rely on those big kind of mobilization days for volunteers, and it's a great way to do it for a day. If you can't make a regular commitment to volunteering, that you could do one or two of these days throughout the year.
Okay, it was great talking to you today, Neil, from Claire for the first time, and I hope to talk to you again at some stage in the future on the station. Before you go, is there anything else you want to tell our listeners about your work in the wheel over the next few months leading us into the summer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be having lots of different events and training. So if anyone is a staff or a volunteer, I'd absolutely recommend them subscribing to the Wheels newsletters or visiting WeAct.ie and seeing all of the training we have on offer. And then for WeAct, I just encourage everyone to follow us on social media. It's a bit of an injection of good news throughout the week. There's so much bad news going on at the moment. So I'll always encourage people to try and engage with good news where they can. So you can subscribe at WeAct.ie or follow us at WeAct Ireland on all the social media channels.